Alright, hell yeah. 5 minutes on the clock. My dad said he would watch every single video as long as it was 5 minutes. So, hey, this is a problem that someone wants me to do, and this is going to be a difficult physics problem. You have a snowball that is rolling down a hill, has a mass of 1 kilogram, and when it reaches the bottom, it has a mass of 10 kilograms. Cool, and guess what? By the time it hits the bottom, the snowball stops moving. So that is a head scratcher and a conundrum. So the first thing that I'm going to show is just going to Google AI and see if I can ask questions that, kind of make sense and lead us down a right path. Now, this video actually probably isn't going to explain much of that, but maybe, you can kind of ponder. But anyway, I just wanted to, figure out between static and kinetic friction, because they say this problem asks what is the kinetic friction. So while it's rolling, it's going to have kinetic friction. What is the coefficient of kinetic friction so the snowball just reaches the bottom with no excess speed? So that means a velocity of 0. Hell yeah. And we're almost a minute and a half in. So friction... what did I ask? Friction can never make something speed up. That's not 100% true. The friction of your car tire kind of acts as a pivot, and now your wheel is falling forward. And now you got molecules in motion. You know what I mean? And Newton says that if you got molecules that were at rest and now are moving, hey, it's going to take some force to maybe bring that to a stop. So that's related to our problem. Now, I've heard the term passive force. So I asked, is static friction a passive force? I actually really didn't know what that meant. And this says yes, static friction is considered a passive force. And I just thought it was the fact that it's not a driving force. But that's not true either. Because I was just like, well, is a spring, let's see if I even get to it. Because I wanted to know, is the compression of a spring a passive force? And yes, it is. And so the definition of so I had to ask, what is the definition of an active force versus a passive force? So an active force, it requires fossil fuels. It requires you to eat a bagel. It requires, the water in a dam to start moving and then impact something. It requires you to be the baseball player and floating in outer space like an astronaut with 100 baseballs. And you can throw each of those baseballs. And so those things, like either mass impacting things, I would consider that an active force. And maybe I'm not 100% on the dam analogy and the baseballs in outer space. But when you compress a spring, you are eating the bagel. You know what I mean? So that's the ATP that's going on in your system, and then you're putting that active force into the spring. The spring's like, well, I got no choice. You already energized me, and so all the spring can do is just move back. And so muscle contractions, even though it seems like a compressed spring that's now releasing its energy, you ate the food, and the compression of your muscle is like the fuel in a car. So I definitely asked, the torque of a car's engine is an active force, and that came up, yes. So let's see what we're going to do in the last minute. But this just kind of gives us a starter for this problem. Hell yeah. Oh, so what I wanted to know in this last minute is this car tire is always static friction. But if you have a block of rubber, that's on a surface, when you don't push it, it hasn't moved. But as you push it, it's actually the molecules that are acting like linear springs. And so there's no motion in static friction, but when you do apply some force to that block, you are lengthening those springs. And so every time that your car tire hits the road, I just imagine that going down a hill, and if you have rolling without slipping, you still are kind of microly lengthening those springs, and then you're just letting go of them. So I kind of use this disappearance of the universe type thing. What if I, lengthen a spring, and then the spring just magically disappears? Dent it. Now the spring is not elastically returning, And so that's 5 minutes, but I'm just gonna end with a tire deformation, because this is what I asked is, in an ideal elastic environment, even a very low pressure tire would roll and have no energy loss to deformation. In a typical scenario, you have energy loss, so that tire deforms, and you have a ton of friction. Friction is just moving motion, and so you're, actually moving the pavement, because now the pavement is heating up, you just lost energy. But even with a deformed tire, as long as that tire goes back elastically, just kind of like a rebounding basketball, you have no energy loss to deformation. So anyway, just food for thought, and then you have this snowball going down the hill. So now we're probably at the 6 minute. Thanks for watching for 5, and hell yeah.